This is Steph Saucy Talk, available Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Inc., and much more. You could just look up Steph Saucy Talk and you'll be able to find this podcast. Just want to say coronavirus is really hitting hard. Stay safe, be healthy, stay strong for your loved ones. If you got to go outside if necessary. But if not, then we also have to realize that 50 Cent, he's executively producing Pop Smoke's Posthumous album that's going to be coming out this month. And that shouldn't be not a surprise to you as a family and people from Republic Records want to honor Pop Smoke, whose life was fatally cut short. And this guy right here, man, I mean, I'm telling you, he was in the works of creating music upon music. We already know he got unreleased music out. That drill scene, man, that shit is no joke. I know niggas be telling me that out in Chicago, that shit is it's a real deal. And if you talk about that life, man, you better stick by it and walk the walk because, unfortunately, Pop got smoked. I mean, it could be a joke to many people, but it's real talk. You know what I mean? And we can't sit here and act like things are gonna change because of where you're from. Like, people don't care about that shit nowadays. They're willing to take your life. They're willing to take Nipsey Hussle's life, who was in his own hood, his own fucking hood, and getting gunned down. You know what I mean? So that was very sad to see. So now with 50 Cent at the helm of this album, he's looking at guys like Roddy Ricch, a few other big names to hop on the album. I know people like Fabio, Lil TJ would gladly, be on the album like that. Even A Boogie with the hoodie, he's making noise. He's always been making noise. So as far as Brooklyn is concerned, that short period of time that he had on the scene was something spectacular. And I've said this before, the everlasting legacy of Pop Smoke will be remembered as a guy that gave you entertaining verses, gave you an entertaining vibe, but at the same time wasn't lyrically good enough to be amongst the best. And I say that not discrediting his work, but let's be honest. You're not going to get a true 16 out of Pop Smoke like how you would get a 16 out of Meek Mill, a guy like Rick Ross, Dave East. I mean, the list goes on and on. Nas. But it was good for the time being. And I really hope people can really realize what his death meant to hip hop. And just hopefully, we can move forward and not have another rapper like him be gone too soon like that. Now, Eminem kind of piggyback into 50 Cent, Eminem. Those two are best friends. They work together, of course. Dr. Dre, one of the most genius persons I've ever seen as a mogul. Slim Shady says Tupac is the greatest songwriter of all time. Now we look at some of the greatest songwriters of all time. Teddy Riley, Babyface, they just had their battle the other day. You can even argue at times that, people like in the R&B section are one of the best writers of all time. I know Neo had a great writer for his songs in the early day. And we can't even think about people like Michael Jackson, his writers back then when he was coming up. So, I mean, that's a fair argument because I'm not going to sit here and say hip hop is excluded from any other genre because it doesn't matter what genre you're in. Wordplay, the use of phrases, and being, intelligent with your words, it doesn't matter what genre you're in. You're going to be able to tell the people what you want to convey in your messages. You know what I'm saying? So hip hop definitely has an influence on the world. So as far as a worldly view, it's up there. He's up there amongst the best. I mean, I can't argue people like Biggie's up there too. You know what I mean? But as far as Eminem's review on that, I can respect that. Coming from Eminem himself, who was a legend himself, who can give you a 16 or 32 if necessary. He just broke the record on his own track for most, I think, words in like a minute to 30 seconds. You know what I mean? So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now we're going to take things back to the East Coast as Lil TJ been in the news all week. Bitches been bugging him all week. Ruby Rose, Chinese Kitty. I mean, this is not even a discussion as far as who said what and who did who, wrong or dirty. I mean, the evidence, shows forth itself. But on a bigger scale, we're talking about this rivalry now, the King of New York rivalry, right? That dated back to 6ix9ine when he first started, and then looking at A Boogie, he released King of his city and featured on his album this past February. So it's real interesting. It's real interesting. The King of New York, right? Who is the King of New York? Everyone wants to say they this shit. You are who you are, man. And I always like to laugh at shit like this because I don't know where it comes from. Being the king of what? Like, I mean, we're talking music. Numbers don't lie. All right, pull up A Boogie's numbers versus Lil TJ's number. Obviously, A Boogie has had more success because he came into the game earlier, but 6ix9ine himself had a lot of success in a short period. But do we really consider that good music? That's the question I have for you, and just something that you just got to think about. So now, Lil TJ, the beef stems from him talking about he could have fucked A Boogie's wife, Slay Bella on IG. I mean, that's a little personal right there. That's kind of out of boundaries right there when it talks about nigga's wife. But then he talks about how he stole a high bridge change when in reality A Boogie said word to his own daughter's life that chain was on the floor after an altercation with a fight. So he probably paid to get that chain, which he lost all respect for him. So now we're gonna be looking at battles. Maybe we could see more diss records. I mean, we're gonna have that Drake Meek Mill era. I don't know about that. That's gonna be tough to say, but that would be interesting. As far as 6ix9ine is concerned, this Friday, I know a lot of people gonna have their alerts ready because he will be on IG Live at 3 p.m. For what we don't know. We know a single is supposed to be coming out. I think it's his birthday this Friday. So people are going to be tuning in. And oh, by the way, just know that those police going to be watching. You know what I'm saying? And he joked about it, but we already know his quarantine time, being spent very wisely and very efficiently and effectively, because now we know that the judge has given him early release due to this pandemic. So it's got to be clean. It's got to be like quarantine radio, maybe like Tory Lanez. We already been seeing so much of that shit. Bitches is twerking all over the place. You know what I'm saying? But what can this do for 6ix9ine? His notoriety, his presence, being on Instagram. Will he break records? I mean, will this be a moment in hip hop that we're gonna recognize and be like, what else is new with 6ix9ine? Like, what can he do to change our minds and hearts of being a snitch? You know what I'm saying? That's the most things people is thinking about is like, this guy's a snitch. Like, what the fuck? But he did break numbers. But that's not even like important in life sometimes. It's not about what you do, but how you went about it and how you did what you did to get to the top. And that's just what it comes down to. Just want to say coronavirus is really hitting hard. Stay safe, be healthy, stay strong for your loved ones. If you got to go outside if necessary. But if not, so before I get up out of here, a lot of talks about DMX wants Jay-Z in a versus battle, hit for hit. Now, let me get this straight. We're talking about 90s or 2000s. Because if we're talking about 90s, we're talking about Jay at the peak of his career, Reasonable Doubt. We all know that album spoke volumes. And then the beef between him and Nas. But excluding Nas, Jay and DMX have a lot of history. And I know DMX brings it to the people each and every time, but that's kind of hard, D. I mean, I'm be honest with you. I can't go with DMX. I had to go with Jay-Z. The amount of features he had and the produced, albums, Black Oh my God, that album was crazy. American Gangster. I mean, come on, man. The work speaks for itself, and the business obviously is speaking for himself as we speak. The billionaire music mogul. But besides the point, I would have to say Jay-Z. Arguably speaking, correct. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you got to think about. Who's got the more hits? This is Steph Saucy Talk. Your guy DJ Steph Saucy. I will be back for another edition of Industry Update Wednesdays. It's Saucy airs tonight, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Hip hop and reggae music. You know how I do. I get down, get busy. I'll see you.